Hello. Oh, hello. And here we are again in my room with these beautiful bed sheets that I was eyeing up for months. That might be a little dramatic, about a month and a half before I bought them. I'm very proud that I have this background. But you're about to see a change up because spring is coming, and that means a change in decor. Uh so that's what's about to happen. Let me put my microphone on. Hopefully that works. Anyway, it's good to see all of you. We are back to talk about what is going on health wise. And I wanted to really talk about, hold on one second. Let me bring this up a little higher. Is that going to work? I'll just hold it. It's fine. I just wanted to talk about what um, life is looking like as I work my way to 40. And not really work my way. I think the more appropriate phrase is to journey my way to 40. Now, first, we need to take care of one thing. Um, as is customary, I always have a beverage with me. This is obviously a Starbucks tumbler, and I had bought this. You know how they usually come with the flat lids that have the straw and the hole for the straw. So, when I was in Chicago, I think a year or two ago, I got just a different lid because I saw one of my friends with a different lid, and I was like, I want a lid because sometimes I just do not feel like always using the straw. Sometimes I just want to, feel like I really got it from Starbucks, even though I'm making it at home. What we have here is water, and we have slices of lemon, we have mashed up raspberry and diced strawberry. I'm trying to drink more water, and sometimes it's difficult, so I need to put fruit in my water, and I'm totally okay with that. So that's what we have today as our beverage. That tastes good. Okay, so I wanted to discuss um, how I am allowing my life to be. You know what? Let's check that phrasing. Because what I was going to say was, I'm allowing my life to be redesigned by God, and that probably is correct. But I also want to talk about how um, that encompasses everything and not just job and employment. It also encompasses how I view myself. So we're talking about identity, we're talking about health, the way I take care of my health, the way I show up for myself, even in the way that I dress and the way that I look. Today, I'm very casual with jeans and a white tank top and my army jacket. But I'm essentially out trying to rediscover and reimagine and really find out what it is that I like. I'm also looking at life differently because I have had my gallbladder removed. Now, I did a previous video where I talked about um, the first set of topics regarding having my gallbladder taken out, like the initial diagnosis and the surgery and things of that nature. Now, I want to talk about what life is like, and we are almost 2 years out because it happened the summer of 2023, and now we're approaching spring of 2025, and it'll be 2 years since I've had my gallbladder out, and what is happening now, what I have changed, things like that. So of course I have my trusty notes right here, and so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is managing digestive issues after the gallbladder removal. um so, some of the common issues that I have found and that I have heard about are bloating, diarrhea, constipation, um, indigestion. And so, what I found really annoying and very misleading was the fact that they said, oh, after you've had the surgery, you can go back to your regular diet. And to me, that did not sound right. I did not think that that was true. When I went into surgery and came back out, my parents, the nurses had given my parents instructions in the paperwork, and they said, make sure she eats with foods that have a lot of fiber. Make sure she's drinking hot drinks because essentially her system has shut down because of being under anesthesia, and also I had thrown up everything, so I was not digesting anything. They were giving me fluids through an IV. And so they said, make sure that she is eating those foods. So as her digestive system wakes up, it's food that is helpful to regulate her digestive system, the large and the smaller intestine, and bowel movements. And so while I was resting, like I said before, I was at my parents' house and they were instrumental in really helping me recover, especially when it came to what I had to eat. And I had a lot of oatmeal in the morning. On top of that, I did have to take painkillers and I did have to take, I think it's Miralax or Metamucil, either one of those. One morning I did become nauseous because my body was like, hey, I've had enough. I've had enough. Just let me do my thing. I don't want these things in my system anymore. I got this. And I actually did throw up because my body was like, please stop doing this. I've had enough. I'm done. I can handle this. I'm awake. Girl, I'm awake. So that's the way I describe it. So um I was just like, all right, let's do some research. I looked on YouTube. I did not find much information. The information that I found was on TikTok, but I only found up to a certain point. I found a lot of information from doctors, and especially one called Nurse Doza. He was talking about all the different things that happen after you have gallbladder surgery. And he said the reason why he started talking about it was that he found it really misleading and he felt very aggravated that the patients would be told, oh, you could go back to your regular diet. He said, obviously, you cannot go back to your regular diet because that's what put you in the emergency room in the first place. And I said, and we agree. So I was researching the different things I'll need. Like, for instance, I take super enzymes. And what I'm supposed to do, sorry, I thought I saw something on the floor that I dropped. What I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to take the super enzymes before every meal. Some meals I don't. I have to be honest. I'm not the best with taking pills. I'm getting better at it. But the super enzymes have different enzyme and then it also has ox bile. So I take ox bile, and because what you want is you want that those digestive enzymes to help break down your food. Because you do not have your gallbladder anymore, that means that the mechanism that was in there to release the bile every time you ate is not there anymore. So you have to take a supplement or a pill to help and aid with that breaking down, which means if you don't take what you need to take on top of eating whole foods, you're not getting the right vitamins. You're not getting um, the minerals and vitamins that your body needs to sustain. Okay? That's why you got to take the ox bile. And that's why you also need to eat better foods, whole foods. Eating the whole foods, processed foods is extremely limited, and foods that are extremely fatty and not the good fat. So an example of food that is a good fat is avocado. I love eating avocado. So for me, I was like, yeah, I will add more of that into my diet. I'm trying to eat more whole foods, more salads, lots of salmon, fish, things of that nature. And that reminds me, I did not take out what I needed to take out for dinner. But that's okay. That's okay. Um, I'll figure that out shortly. Anyway, um, where was I? Yes. So lots of salads, spinach, nuts, berries, all of that. Chicken, eggs, salmon, fish, seafood, all of that. And even in the way that I cook the food, I have made adjustments and changes, which have been for the better. So that has really been helpful, especially in the managing of the everyday bowel movements, all of that stuff. Physical activity and exercise. So for the first, I want to say, because it happened in August, I don't think I went back to solid core until maybe the next January, which would have been January of 2024. I needed to let the stitches and the incisions and everything else heal before I could do anything because you're cutting into muscle. Even though they did the laparoscopic surgery, they were still cutting into muscle, and that muscle and everything needed to heal. And so I remember I got to the end of 20, it was like October of 2024, and I called up my personal trainer, which his name is Malik. You can find him on Instagram and TikTok. I called him and I said, I want to start working out again because I've been sick. I don't feel fantastic. I don't have a gallbladder, and this needs to really get under control. In fact, it might have been the end of September of last year. And so we started working together again. We do our PT times over Zoom because he does not live here. He lives out in Nevada. And so that has been really helpful, especially now that I'm on what I call like a paid sabbatical, um, to really take care of my health and really go for it. So that means cooking a lot at home. That means um, not eating as much sugary and processed foods. There are times where I do need to get a Starbucks pastry and I go get my pastry, okay? But it's much less than it used to be. Like I'm drinking water with diced up and mashed fruits in it. I mean, I'm doing really well in my opinion. It's much better than it was, but I know I can do better and that's what I'm going to do. In fact, let's take a swig. I've been talking so much, I'm parched. Take of water and electrolytes is very important. So I do take electrolyte supplements, especially because I do work out and I do sweat a lot. So I'll use first element, then trace minerals, and then if I don't have either of those, then I'll use liquid IV. But physical activity has upticked. I will do 3 sessions with him in the week, and I have to walk an hour each day. On days where I'm not doing a session with him, not only do I still have to walk, but there's one day where it's scheduled for me to do an abs exercise. And we're trying to establish the habit that I get in a significant amount of movement every day. I do have to say, I feel better. I don't necessarily see the difference in my physical body, whereas my friends have been telling me that I look great. And so I said, thank you, because I maybe feel like a tiny bit slimmer. I do feel stronger, but to me, I'm not seeing the results that I want to see. That is partially my fault. And then I'm also thinking about Am I getting enough sleep? Am I doing all of the things that I need to do? And it's possibly no, I'm not. And I need to really drill down and focus. And so that is what I'm really focusing on at this moment. In fact, last week, I couldn't really do much. The only thing I could really focus on is exercising and feeding myself because I know that I'm not getting enough protein and I'm looking at ways to supplement or add that in my day-to-day diet. And so physically I'm doing better and it's getting better each day. Let me go get my aura ring because I want to talk about my aura ring. When it comes to physical activity as well, there are some things that um I have really depended on, and one of them is my aura ring. It really helps track heart rate, sleep, um if I'm ready for the day. Hey, your temperature and your heartbeat was rapid throughout the night. You need to take it easy. I love that about my Aura Ring. I do pay for the app. Um, what I'm hoping is there's more features that they'll come out with as time goes on. I know there are other sports or health rings that are out there, but like the Ultra Human and things like that. But I really enjoy my Aura Ring. Um, it's not the most accurate with the steps or the workouts, but what I'm hoping is that that improves over time. Just saying. So there we are with that. But I really, because I don't want to wear my Apple Watch when I sleep. When am I going to charge it? Because the Apple Watch is really good, especially when it comes to exercising, steps, and even just having all of many of the apps that I have on my phone on my watch. So I use both, and I like both. But when it comes to, especially for sleep, because it'll tell you when you're in deep sleep if that sleep was really even efficient for you. Most of the time for me, it's not. And I'm like, wow, I need to make some changes and have a night routine. But those are some of the items that I use in my journey to becoming more fit, especially after this. Let's see, long term effects and complications. Um, I am not sure about long term effects and complications because I think the long term effects we've already covered, which would be the indigestion, which is the first set of complications that I would incur. You should be able to live a pretty normal life after that. You just have to really be careful about what you eat and how much you eat, which I need to eat something soon. Uh, Appointments and medical care. I did have a follow up appointment after I had the surgery. For care, I take care of that myself and I do my own research. And I encourage people to do research. I listen to podcasts. You actually, I'm sorry, there are long term effects depending on how long term complications and effects, especially if you don't change your ways. Because if the way that you ate previously, processed foods, refined sugars, all of that, you could end up with a fatty liver because now everything is being processed through your liver. So therefore, the liver has to work twice as hard because it's got no gallbladder to break down all those foods, and it has to break it down on its own. So therefore, fatty liver is something that I do not want to incur. And you can do all of what's necessary to change that and get rid of a fatty liver. It would just have to be a very drastic change from what I have heard on different podcasts. So I seek the advice of my personal trainer. I also have gotten blood tests, things of that nature to make sure that I'm moving in the right direction. So those types of things can be an effect, like a fatty liver, that just puts strain on the body, really stresses the body out, and that's what I don't want. Um, any the ooh, advice that I could give if you are prepping for gallbladder surgery, do your research about whole foods that you can eat. And even if you have to go on Pinterest and make a Pinterest board with recipes with whole foods, find people on TikTok and YouTube who cook with whole foods. You're going to have to do a lot of cooking at home. Um, and you're also going to have to be very strict about what you eat, even when you are out and about. So do the research to find out what recipes can I make, what can I meal prep to make things easier for myself, and I think that will be really helpful. I mean, it was helpful to me. So if you're prepping for the surgery, do your research. Also, any advice that they give you. So, for an example, when my mom had to have her gallbladder out, she could not have any salt, so she was drinking, I think, chicken broth and bone broth for weeks. It felt like weeks. I was young, so I don't remember how long between the diagnosis and the surgery, but it felt like for a long time she was drinking just chicken broth. And I was like, oh my God, please don't let this lady die from only drinking chicken broth. I said, you can't do this to me. I don't know what I'm doing in life. So I would say, whatever advice they give you, please adhere to it, because they want you to have the least complicated surgery possible. When you come out, actually, before you go in, make sure you are stocked up with water. Make sure you're stocked up with fibrous foods. That means oatmeal. That means fruits. That means vegetables. Um, Painkillers like Tylenol, Advil, whichever one they tell you to take that. So that's the advice that I would give for anyone that has to have a gallbladder surgery. Also, you're going to have to cut down on your coffee intake. I have cut down on my coffee intake. I have switched to matcha. Even though they both have caffeine, it's the difference in what the coffee and the matcha do. And matcha is much more gentle on the system, and it has a time release of the caffeine. It's not a diuretic as well. Coffee is a diuretic, it will make you go to the bathroom. And so I have cut back on the amount of coffee that I do drink, and I have switched over to matcha, which reminds me, I need to go into the city and get matcha. I need ceremonial grade matcha because I want to make matcha at home. And I saw people making protein matchas, and I was like, I need to do this because I need more protein. And if I could mix it with matcha, why wouldn't I? That'd be amazing. Anyway. Hi, this is Editing Monique here with a cup of tea. I think this is raspberry and blackberry. It's so good. Anyway, I wanted to step in because I wanted to make something abundantly clear. When it comes to researching and doing research in regards to your gut health and your health in general, go and speak to your general practitioner and a gastroenterologist, especially when it comes to your gut, and even possibly a nutritionist. So, for example, when my dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, he spoke to his general practitioner, and they also referred him to a nutritionist, and him and my mom went to classes to discuss the different foods that they should eat, the portions, all of that. They did blood tests and they monitored it moving forward. So when I say do research, yes, you can look up all of the articles. You can look up all of the TikToks, YouTube videos as well. But I think it's most important that you speak to your general practitioner, voice the concerns that you have, and then ask them to refer you to a gastroenterologist, or if there's one that you've been researching and you speak to them and you feel comfortable with them, go and speak to them as well, because your gut is deemed as your second brain. And if your second brain isn't working, then you don't want to mess around and just willy-nilly do whatever it is that you think would be right. Because ultimately, you and I, unless you are an actual doctor, are not doctors. Us who have not gone to medical school, who have not done the research, we're not doctors. So we need to go speak to doctors to find out what it is that we need to do to have optimal gut health, okay? I mean, some stuff is common sense, like drinking more tea than coffee, which I'm trying to do every day. And I have done, I drink much less coffee now, but it's most important that you speak to your general practitioner and you speak to a gastroenterologist. Those who deal with the gut, everything to do with the gut, they have studied it, they have made it their life's work. Apologies for the sirens. Okay, now that the sirens are gone and my tea is almost gone as well, like I was saying, find medical experts, those who have studied and who know what they're doing. The reason why I started seeking out help was because I was not pleased at the fact that they were like, oh, you can go back to your regular diet. And it's like, no, that's ridiculous. The reason why I'm in here is because of my diet in the first place. That's why my gallbladder has done what it's done. So seek medical experts, okay? I'm not a doctor, and you possibly are not a doctor. Okay, so that is everything, I believe. I had a different ending to the video, but I think that this ending is better. So seek medical attention and find supportive friends and, you know, others who are also intentional about their eating and their habits and, you know, how they're navigating through this as well, because it's not easy, especially if you're used to eating in a specific way for most of your life and then you have this drastic change. So that is my advice to you. That is the end of this video. And I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day or night whenever you are watching this. And I will see you next time.